CBS 13 News is on your side, live at 5:30.
A lot of military folks, someone that, we fought for our country and we should exercise our right to vote.
Election Day 2017 is underway. Voters across Maine are making their voices heard on issues affecting the entire state and their own neighborhoods.
Tens of thousands of people have already hit the polls today, and those polling places will stay open for a few more hours. One hotly contested issue up for vote today is in the Twin Cities, asking residents if they want Lewiston and Auburn to become one.
If approved, that merger would create a city only a little bit smaller than Portland. CBS 13's Jennifer Long is live in Auburn right now. And Jen, you've been following this issue for months. What are you hearing from voters now?
Yeah, that's right. That's been the talk of the town for quite some time, both here in Auburn and in Lewiston. And finally tonight, residents of both cities will be able to take all that talk and turn it into action at the polls. We have been covering this for quite some time. And tonight, a lot of the voters that I spoke to told me they'd be voting no on the proposed merger. But of course, still far from being over tonight. We'll have to wait and see what happens later on this evening. But again, this proposed merger of Lewiston and Auburn has been in the works for a few years now. And for the merger to actually happen, both Lewiston as well as Auburn residents would have to approve the merger tonight. Now, that new merged city, it would be called Lewiston Auburn, and it would officially be in effect in the year 2020. Supporters argue that the merger will save both cities millions of dollars annually and grow this region. But opponents say the merger will destroy the individual histories of each city, and it will take too much time and too much money to enact. Plenty of people at the polls today had no problem telling me how they felt.
I live in Auburn, and I built my house in Auburn because it's a small community, much smaller than Lewiston, and if I wanted big city living, I'd live somewhere else.
I think it's a great idea. I'm big on just community and the sense of community, and I think it's a lot of old tradition that's being hung on to. I like to think of new beginnings and think of something, a fresh start.
Now, if the merger is approved tonight, the new city would be built here in Auburn. The city government would be, the fire departments as well as the police departments would combine, and the school district would be one of the largest ones in the state. Certainly a lot for Lewiston and Auburn residents to think about tonight. Polls still open, of course. We'll be talking to more residents as well as campaigns on both sides of this issue. We'll have more on that coming up later on this evening. For now, we're live in Auburn. I'm Jennifer Long for CBS 13 News. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Jen. We'll continue to follow that from Lewiston. In Scarborough, voters are deciding if they want to approve borrowing $19.5 million to build a new public safety building. That current facility on Route 1 was built in 1964 for the fire department, and additional space for the police department was added in 1989. Public safety officials now say they've outgrown that facility, and the location makes it difficult for emergency vehicles to get out. A Facebook group, Concerned Taxpayers of Scarborough, is worried about the long-term cost of borrowing that much money.
Maine's Secretary of State is traveling around the state today, stopping at multiple polling locations from Portland to Bangor in an effort to encourage people to take part in the democratic process. Matt Dunlap is making 7 stops in all, including the state's capital, where he spent time today at the Augusta Civic Center observing the voting process, greeting voters there, and meeting with local election workers. Secretary Dunlap says he expects about 20 to 30% of the state's registered voters to participate today, claiming all of these questions on the ballot are important.
Our 3 largest communities have got a lot going on in their local ballots, and I think those are the things that will really push turnout.
We'll have continued coverage of today's election still ahead, including the much debated rent control question in Portland.
Mild temperatures may soon be on the way out. In fact, they already felt like it today. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Charlie Lopresti. And Charlie, we could start feeling that even cooler winter weather really soon.
That's exactly it, Kim. The big story in the next several days will be the cool November temperatures. We actually have overnight lows slipping into the 20s, some teens in some communities, and we actually have wind chills in the single numbers in teens later this week. It's hard to believe it was in the 60s just yesterday. Now we have some rain and snow showers showing up on Doppler HD. A lot of what you see there isn't hitting the ground. The atmosphere is still fairly dry, but there will be at least a chance for some rain and snow showers south and coast between now and about midnight. After that, we'll clear it out. Air temperatures right now are in the 40s, some 30s in the mountains. Lows tonight will be in the 20s and low 30s, so it's going to be a cool night out there. With the skies clearing after midnight, or even right around midnight, we should see a free fall in the temperatures by morning. So we'll start tomorrow morning in the 30s. We'll have unlimited sunshine tomorrow. By lunchtime, we're in the mid-40s. 5 p.m., yeah, we're back in the upper 30s. And yes, it is dark at 5 p.m. these days. Coming up in just a few minutes, we'll take a closer look at your cool forecast in the coming days. We're tracking some snow showers and even some snow squalls later this week. When to expect those wind chills in the single numbers and teens. We'll look at that again in just a few minutes. Kim and Greg, over to you.
More than 1,000 Central Maine Power customers are still in the dark tonight, now in the 9th day after the great Halloween blackout began. And the costs are adding up from last week's windstorm. And now there's word you can expect to see a bump in your bill at some point next year. CBS 13's Dan Lamparello is live for us in Portland tonight. And Dan, how much of an increase could we be talking about here?
Well, right now, CMP says they have no idea what the cost might be. They won't even put a ballpark estimate out there on how much all of this damage was caused to clean up. But they say once they do, that cost is going to be put on to all of their customers. Now, according to CMP today, they have 30 days to send Maine's Public Utility Commission their total cost for restoring power after this storm. That will include the cost to bring more than 3,000 crews from more than a dozen states, including Canada, here to help with that effort. From there, the PUC will then go through everything line by line and can challenge certain costs along the way as well, deciding in the end how much each person's utility rate will go up per month and for how many years.
They're trying to balance, what customers can afford to pay and the volatility that it could inject into rates against, making a timely repayment to the company.
Now, we're here at the CMP Service Center in Portland. We've seen trucks coming in and out of here all day. They're continuing to work to restore power. So coming up tonight at 6, we're asking them the tough questions on if they were prepared for this storm. We'll have more on that at 6 o'clock. Live in Portland tonight, Dan Lamparello, CBS 13 News. Back to you.
In Damariscotta, 61 CMP customers are still without power tonight, 9 days after the storm. CBS 13's Brad Rogers shows us the progress now being made and how families are getting by.
It's quite an electrical mess down there.
Spaghetti, how people here describe the twisted power lines on Water Street in Damariscotta. Families here are on their 9th day of roughing it. No electricity, no generator, nothing. It's 50 degrees inside the Belknap's home, but no complaints from them.
Actually, we've done very well. We have a fireplace, so we keep warm. And we have a grill outside, a gas grill, and so we make our coffee like camp coffee. And we have water, so that's been a help.
I'm not about to do my own version of wiring.
After a few days without power, Fran Needham decided to stay with her daughter. Today, she came back to see if her homegrown pears and 24 pounds of Maine blueberries in her freezer are salvageable.
I may have blueberry wine as we speak, and if I put a little more sugar in, I might get brandy. So we'll know if I wind up at, Lincoln Medical Center.
One thing you notice about this neighborhood is how quiet it is. Very few families here have generators. That's because they thought they were in a hospital zone, and if they did lose power, they figured it wouldn't be for very long.
We've usually bragged because we were on the hospital circuit, and we've always said, we'll never lose it for very long, so you don't need these generators that everybody has. And we're getting our uppance now.
The Belknaps say it's like camping. They pass the time cutting and stacking branches and wood from trees that fell in their yard. It makes you appreciate electricity.
It certainly does, and I feel sorry for all these fellows that are working overtime.
Today, a welcome sight in this neighborhood, a new utility pole, and hope that power will be back on soon.
It's not on the ground yet, but it's almost here.
In Damariscotta, Brad Rogers, CBS 13 News.
Still ahead, landlords in Portland may soon face some changes to the referendum question today that could alter the way that rent is regulated.
Plus, taking care of your livestock while you're away from the farm. The booming business idea from one Massachusetts man, turning his passion into cash.
Excessive lead in the water at local schools.
It was in our kitchen, the faucets in the classrooms.
The I-Team investigates a dangerous toxin.
There could be schools out there that have lead but don't know about it.
That's correct.
I think people are afraid of finding out.
Why are only some schools taking advantage of free tests? CBS 13, Thursday at 6.